Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So it appears that an Xbox game that technically isn't even out yet is already having a ton of success. And I think this is kind of an indictment on not just the quality of this game, but also on Xbox Game Pass in general. For a long time, there's been this impression that Xbox fans just don't buy games, but this kind of contradicts that, so we will talk about that today. Now, also, we're hearing some more information from Nintendo regarding that Metroid franchise. Metroid Dread, of course, just released, and even though the original story arc is over, it sounds like Metroid's future is very much still alive, so we were going to go over that one as well. To start the week off, though, we're going to be talking about Elden Ring. We did get that big gameplay reveal last week as they showed 15 minutes of Elden Ring, and like I said last week, this game is looking outstanding. If you do like that Dark Souls formula, it pretty much is an open world Dark Souls style of game, and you can definitely see some similarities with Sekiro as well. There's a lot more verticality in this game, but there's still one question that remains when it comes to Elden Ring. We've now seen gameplay, we got a release date, we even have a collector's edition, but how does this game run? And well, they've now also revealed its performance, though there is a little bit of controversy surrounding this, which we'll get into here in just a moment. As you can see here, though, last generation consoles being the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One will run up to 30 frames per second. This does include the Xbox One X and PlayStation 4 Pro as well. Now, with the Xbox Series X and S as well as the PlayStation 5, these consoles will run up to 60 frames per second, so that's exactly what you want to see if you're running on a next generation platform. So everything's about what you would expect so far, but this is where it gets a little bit more controversial because Elden Ring's PC specs also is going to be capped at 60 frames per second. That is a little bit surprising because, I mean, if you have a powerful enough rig, you probably want to go beyond 60 frames per second. If you can get it up to 120 or 144, yeah, I mean, that would be ideal. But unfortunately, it does look like they've capped that frame rate at 60 frames. That is a little disappointing. Again, on the console side of things, it's about what you would expect. 60 frames per second on next generation consoles, 30 frames on last generation. You do have ray tracing support on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, as well as HDR, so it does seem to be pretty good on the console side of things, but I am a little surprised that they would decide to cap this game on a PC at 60 frames per second. I guess it is what it is, but I'd like to see them unlock that in the future. Moving on, let's talk about Nintendo as they revealed some information about Nintendo Switch Online. It's actually quite interesting. Now, first off, they did talk about the subscription count, which sits at 32 million subscribers worldwide. This is actually up from 26 million last year, so that's pretty decent right there. This figure should continue to rise with that Nintendo Switch Plus Online expansion pack, but that's kind of the thing because that expansion pack has not exactly went over well in terms of fan reception. Even though this expansion does include Nintendo 64 emulation, which fans have been asking for such a long time, well, the price has increased pretty dramatically here from that original $20 asking point all the way up to $50. So that already didn't exactly go over well with fans, but then to just kind of top it off, there's also been some bugs and glitches when it comes to the Nintendo 64 emulation itself. So this launch has not been smooth so far, but it does sound like Nintendo is looking to improve things going forward. In Nintendo's corporate strategy briefing with investors, they had this to say: "Going forward, we will continue to improve and expand both Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, striving to provide services that satisfy customers." And that's an interesting statement because not only do they say that they're going to improve the service, but they also very specifically say they're going to expand it as well. Now, we have been hearing a lot of rumors, whether this be from insiders or from data mines, that Nintendo is looking into adding Game Boy and Game Boy Color games to Nintendo Switch Online. So with them very specifically saying that they are looking to expand this service, it does make you wonder if there's some legitimacy to those rumors after all. I guess we'll kind of see, but at the very least, it does sound like they are acknowledging that they need to improve this service, because they very much do. So hopefully they start to get some updates out to improve that Nintendo 64 emulation. Next up, let's talk about the Xbox Series as it's getting one of its first big console exclusives, being Forza Horizon 5 this week. It is set to release on November 9th, and as we talked about last week, this game is already reviewing really well. In fact, it's actually the best rated completely new game to release this generation with a 91 overall score on Metacritic. Yeah, if you like racing games, Forza Horizon 5 is sounding like a must-own title, and I know that there's a lot of anticipation for this game. You all actually voted for this as your most anticipated game for the month of November. And well, that's kind of the thing, because this is a game that's officially set to release on November 9th, but if you bought the $100 premium edition or the $40 premium add-ons bundle, well, you would actually get early access to play Forza Horizon 5 starting November 5th. And well, it seems like a lot of fans took advantage of that, as Forza Horizon 5 has already registered more than 1 million players online. Now, this is coming from the Forza Horizon 5 leaderboards, and this is incredibly impressive for multiple reasons. One, like I said, this game isn't even officially out yet, and to see it already reach 1 million players, that alone just kind of shows you the excitement that surrounds this game. But that's kind of the other thing about this, because this game is launching directly into Xbox Game Pass. There's always this discussion that surrounds Xbox Game Pass games and how well they actually sell, but here we're seeing a big AAA game that's not even out yet, and it's already sold 1 million copies despite it releasing day one into Xbox Game Pass. So it shows you Xbox can have success by giving you options to play your games. As you're seeing here, there's still a lot of people willing to purchase games, and for that matter, Microsoft did offer a $40 premium add-on bundle, which allows Xbox Game Pass subscribers to get access to that premium edition without spending the full $100. And I'm sure a lot of fans did that, and that is something that Microsoft has pointed out time and time again. Data does show that Xbox Game Pass subscribers purchase more games than non-subscribers. Microsoft did say initially that this surprised them that subscribers did buy more games, but data does show that. We've also heard several publishers and developers in the past talk about Xbox Game Pass and how it led their game to success. We've heard this with smaller independent games as well as big AAA games such as Outriders. Even Avengers, that game saw a boost here recently thanks to Xbox Game Pass. So Xbox Game Pass doesn't necessarily cannibalize sales, and in some cases they actually even help games out. Now, I'm not saying that's what's happening here with Forza Horizon 5 per se, but you are seeing despite this game releasing into Xbox Game Pass day one, there's still a lot of people willing to buy into this game, and I think Microsoft is onto something here with Xbox Game Pass. I think a lot of us kind of already knew that already, but I think here with Forza Horizon 5, it really just goes to show you the importance of having options just in general. Xbox Game Pass, of course, is leading the industry in a subscription service like this, but not only are they selling a lot of subscriptions for Xbox Game Pass, but they're still able to also manage to sell their games on top of that. They're not forcing you to buy a subscription, but they are supporting an ecosystem that is worth investing into. If you do buy into Xbox Game Pass, that gives you more money to put into other games. It does give you more money to maybe buy into a premium version like Forza Horizon 5, and if it's as high quality as a game like this, of course, that would be very well worth the money. Again, though, we're seeing yet another game launched directly into Xbox Game Pass have success, and this time it's actually before it even officially launched. Kudos to Xbox here, though, and kudos to Playground Games, which has made yet another great racing game with Forza Horizon 5. Really, though, with them making high-quality games like this, I can't wait to see what they do with the Fable franchise. Now, we do have some more Nintendo news to talk about today, or more specifically, when it comes to the Metroid franchise. Metroid Dread did release last month after a long hiatus when it comes to the 2D Metroid franchise. Fans have been super hyped up for this game for such a long time, and it seemingly has done really well in the market so far. I still do believe that this will be the best-selling entry in the entire franchise, or at least until Metroid Prime 4 releases, hopefully sooner rather than later. Metroid Dread, though, is supposed to be the conclusion to the 5-story Metroid arc that originally began back on the Nintendo in 1986. Yeah, it's hard to believe Metroid has been around for that long, but yes, this was supposed to be the end of that story. However, it sounds like this might not be the end of the 2D Metroid franchise after all. According to Metroid Dread's producer Yoshio Sakamoto, he had this to say. as long as the character Samus exists, I think her adventure will continue. I feel that Samus should continue her adventure, and that's something that we would really need to put our best effort into. Metroid Dread does conclude the 5-story arc that has been going on for 35 years. However, I feel that it's not the ultimate end. There should be something that is able to continue the franchise and the universe. So yes, as long as your character Samus is loved, I would like to do what I have to do. So there you have it. The end of the 2D Metroid franchise isn't quite set in stone after all, and it sounds like that they could continue it going forward. After the reception for Metroid Dread this year, though, I'm really not all that surprised that Nintendo might already be considering more 2D Metroid games in the future. See, the thing about the Metroid franchise is that these games have always been really high quality and very beloved games, but they haven't exactly always sold well. And here with Metroid Dread, I think that that's kind of flipped the script, because I do think that this game is going to sell really well. We're already seeing early signs of that, but I think Nintendo's happy with what's happening here with Metroid Dread, and I would be surprised if they kept Metroid on the bench for long periods of time going forward. I think we might start to see the Metroid franchise be a little bit more of a mainstay in the Nintendo library, especially when it comes to those 2D Metroid games. It is sounding like right now they're already thinking about the future of that 2D Metroid franchise. Now, we do have one last thing to talk about, being that Sonic game that's set to release sometime in 2022. Now, we've known for a little while now that this game is supposedly just a little bit different than previous Sonic releases. And actually, earlier this year, we did talk about a leak on this channel that suggested that this new Sonic game was going to be similar to something like Zelda Breath of the Wild with a big open world. And now there's yet another leak claiming the exact same thing. This new leak claims that it is an open world game with similar style of Breath of the Wild, and the game is actually good if you like generation gameplay, that is. They do, however, say that the game name has changed and it will now be called Sonic Frontiers rather than Sonic Rangers. Now, we heard about Sonic Rangers from Sega themselves as they accidentally posted this in a press release, but it does sound like, or at least according to this leak, that they changed the game name. And that's what actually makes this particular leak so interesting, because now it's been spotted that Sega has since trademarked Sonic Frontiers. And this is after that leak, so if this is indeed correct, that means that the leak might also be correct in terms of this being an open world style game similar to Zelda Breath of the Wild. And again, this is not the first time that we've heard this, so it is very possible that this new Sonic game that's releasing in 2022 will be inspired by Zelda Breath of the Wild. I am very interested to see exactly what that would look like in a Sonic world, and let me know in the comments below on what you think about this. Would you be interested in a game like this or not? Let me know in the comments below. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, when do you think that Nintendo Switch successor will release? This is something we talked about last week, as Nintendo did very specifically themselves talk about the Nintendo Switch successor, and it did sound like that it was still a little ways away, which kind of contradicts some of the rumors that we've been hearing recently. So I wanted to hear your all's thoughts about this subject. When do you think Nintendo will release that successor? And as you can see here, 5% of you voted for 2022, 22% of you voted for 2023, 41% for 2024, 15% for 2025, and then 17% of you voted for 2026 or beyond. But yes, I kind of agree with you all here. I think it's going to be either 2024 or 2025. I know some rumors have kind of pointed to a 2023 release, but I just don't think that that's going to happen. I don't think Nintendo is really in any kind of rush to get the next system out, just considering how successful the Nintendo Switch has been. I mean, this is a console that is still selling out pretty consistently right now, and I think that there might actually be a legitimate chance that the Nintendo Switch could end up being the best-selling console of all time. So I really don't think Nintendo is in any rush here, and Nintendo themselves did say that the Switch is barely midway into its life cycle, and that does point to about a 2024 to 2025 release, so it could be a little ways away before we do get that Nintendo Switch successor. Now, maybe Nintendo releases some kind of Nintendo Switch Pro, as we've heard rumored time and time again. Maybe that 4K Switch becomes a real thing where it has DLSS 4K upscaled rendering, though that would mainly benefit the docked side of things. That doesn't necessarily benefit the handheld side of things, though on the contrary, you do have the Nintendo Switch OLED, which specifically focuses on handheld players. So one thing that Nintendo does like to do is they like to give fans a lot of different options, so I could see them doing one more upgrade for docked players in specific. Now we'll kind of see about all that, but I will be really interested to see what this successor will be like to the Nintendo Switch. I do hope that they kind of stick with this handheld hybrid console. I think that it is absolutely brilliant, so I hope they stick with this going forward. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.